Motherdaughterduopodcast. Again, another episode of the Mother Daughter Duo podcast. I am your host, Danielle Perkins.
And I am her mom, Jean Perkins. I'm just here.
You are the co-host. You are the vibrancy. You are the wisdom. And so thank you for your presence. Let's see. Let's start with the mommy moment. Sorry. This episode is sponsored by M5 Mommy Monday Morning Motivation Meetup. Read the scroll text below for more information. Let's start with the mommy moment of the week.
And what is the mommy moment of the week?
The mommy moment of the week is anything that you want to talk about that brought light to your week, that brought enlightenment to your week, that made your week smoother, something that you're excited about, a pivotal moment, an aha moment. And so that can be anything from self-care, something you were able to do for yourself. I can say that I got my hair done, which it's been a little while since the last time I was able to do that. And it can also mean something you've discovered as a mom in a euphoric moment.
I don't know. Did I have any? I can't say that. I can't think of nothing right now. Self-discovery, aha moment. I just came back from the services of a dear friend that I went to college with, whom I named my daughter after, and met up with my other college friends, and we all met together in Chicago, and we celebrated her homegoing. And I think my aha moment, even though I'm a Christian and I realize that we're not gonna live forever, and so I think my aha moment, as I was watching the videos that her children put together, I was watching that and I just saw how she lived, right? How she lived life, how she went on adventures with her children. And so for me, the aha moment was, I have to live. Like, I don't think I've done that necessarily yet, but I'm starting to, where, just travel it. There's been a point in my life where I wasn't able to do that, raising kids, didn't have the best job, but things have kind of turned around now, and get out of the mindset that, at 61, that it's too old to travel. So
this is when you can retire and get to going.
My aha moment is, I got to do it now. I got to enjoy life now. I do a video every morning, and in my video is, come on, girl, get up. And I told them life is about living. So I would say that's my aha moment.
Yeah, I already said my mommy moment of the week, which was getting my hair done. But yeah, like right before you were leaving, I noticed that you seemed a little downtrodden and like didn't want to go. I'm like, girl, bye, go. Even though it was a somber, situation, it was not in the best circumstances that you were leaving, but you literally cannot continue to devote your life to us. And then and now that I have children, your grandkids, like, you can't just that can't be it.
No, that can't be it. I feel like I need to be around to help, but I know I need to
do not use that
myself,
as an excuse.
So, I feel like you're going to take off, and girl, when you take off and that money start rolling in, then I can take off.
We already talked about contractually, you've already only asked for like $1,000. And so if that's what you want to leave it at.
Yeah, we don't know what's
be of little faith.
Yeah.
So great. That's the mommy moment of the week. I got my hair done, and you had a revelation that it's important for you to start traveling.
Start living.
Oh.
Living. And that'll include, traveling, but actually live.
What's the difference?
Exploring like, I can live every day I wake up, I'm alive, right? But I'm talking about really living and experiencing all there is to experience in this great world we have.
That's
and
traveling.
That would include traveling, but yeah, just living, just taking chances, just doing things, and not just being at home all the time.
Yeah, I'm so opposite of you. I'm like, girl, you cannot meet your baby daddy in the bed.
Well, I ain't trying to meet nobody else. That last one was a doozy.
And that's another thing.
But that's not what we talking about today. So what's your topic?
Another thing is when you talk about living, that's a part of living. Relationships, you may fall, they don't work out. It's not too late to get you another fine young tender.
I'm good. Let's go.
Okay, well, let's all encourage her in the comments to go on more dates. That's a part of living.
Okay.
Okay, so this is the Mother May I portion where I take questions from different forums and ones that I think are, really great questions to ask. And I pose those questions to my mother, the one of the all-knowing, the one of wisdom. So this is, I know it's common for babies to get their dad's last name, but since my fiance and I aren't sure when or if we'll get married, I feel like our son should have my last name because why not? My mom is for it, but his mom doesn't understand why I wouldn't want the baby to have her son's last name. So, what are your thoughts on last names? Should they automatically get their dad's last name?
Well, to be quite honest, there is nothing traditional. I mean, there's nothing in any book that says that is the norm, or that it has to be that way. So basically, you can name your child whatever you want. You want to use your last name, then fine. I personally,
this is not personal.
No,
just tell them what you think, and we'll move on.
My thought is that the child should have the last name of the father.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, that's how I think.
I don't want you to go too much in it because
I can't go too much in it because I don't have an explanation for why I think that. That's why I use the word traditionally.
Well, the topic of today is
last name.
Yes.
I just wanted to. Oh, go ahead. So we'll talk further maybe as we go down the road. What's your thing? Because you millennials, y'all just.
I don't think I'm like anybody.
Yeah, y'all just think so different. But go ahead.
This was a millennial person.
I know it was. That's why I said y'all think so different. So let's go ahead and tell me why. What's your thought?
So, speaking from firsthand, my children do not have their father's last name. And I say children, but the second child, who has yet to be born, will also not have the father's last name. And conversations came. I was speaking to KP, who is, by the way, Pierre's godparent. And that's another topic for another day. I say that because KP, I had a relationship with KP and I made that person the godparent. So if you were watching the previous episode and you heard about KP and then you're like, huh? Yeah. I made KP my child's godparent. So KP was saying, so what is the name of the baby going to be? And I told KP, and I guess I will, hot topic or breaking news, my second son's name will be Princeton Jackson Dupree Perkins. And the only significant part of that name, well, his name is significant, but Dupree is my dad's middle name. And Perkins, obviously, my dad's last name. Anyways, the conversations that KP and I had were basically like, okay, so why aren't you giving the kids their dad's last name? And I'm saying like, okay, well, why would I? And I realized in that conversation, like you said, there was not really an answer to that question. I feel like it's a privilege to have the last name of the father. To share that is not necessarily a birthright unless you're married, unless you're married. But for some reason, people feel like it should be a birthright that you carry on the father's last name. But what I think for single parents, single mothers, I think it stems from, if I don't give my child the father's last name, my child is illegitimate in some ways. Like, he needs to be attached to the father in order for people to know. I don't know what women think, but I feel like there's some like illegitimacy questions or shame around that if the child is not carrying on the father's last name. But I think opposite of that, I think that by giving my child the last name of a person who may or may not be in the picture, but it's looking like may not be, that brings a lot more questions and insecurity for the child.
Good point. Yeah, I say that's a good point.
Well, this is where we talk it out.
Okay. Well, I think that's a good point. I was married to your dad, the reason why you have his last name. So, we were married, of course. Then for your brother, I was just in a relationship with his dad. And I just, my mindset was, we're in a relationship and that is your dad and you're going to have your dad's last name. And I felt like his dad already had a daughter. And so I thought any man would want a son named after him. And so that's why I named him after his dad too, Bruce Edward Hood Jr. So he didn't want no son named after him, but
so not putting blame on you, but just how you said it, like women think like, I think that's just so cool, and every man would want their, I think that's a privilege.
That was my thinking at the time.
And I think that's why it feels like a privilege that you're carrying out, or the child is carrying out the legacy of the father, which he is a part of your legacy with or without your name.
And then here's the other thing. I was not gonna let my son have the last name of my first husband.
Oh, true.
Okay, so why
did you
that
never
played
get
into that? Well, the reason why I didn't go back to my maiden name,
which is Richardson.
My maiden name is Richardson. I didn't want any confusion with all of us. Here's my last name, Richardson. Your last name Perkins. His last name Hood. So I felt like two of us be Perkins and one Hood, that'd be cool. So I kept my married name, of course, and you kept your name. And then Bruce was the only singular one with a different name. Fortunately, you guys' fathers were engaged, and so not a lot, but they were engaged. And
he left when I was 2, you said.
Yeah, but he was engaged. I was engaged. You got to go see him at certain times, and he would call, and so it did a lot more than some daddies. So
okay.
I said engaged a little bit. I didn't say he was the best, but I'm
not putting my pops on Front Street either, but I'm just trying to figure out where it was the engagement.
He tried. At least he tried.
There was a small brief period when I thought to myself, if I don't give my children the father's name, then that means he's especially not emotionally tied to the children. That was the only time, like for a small iota of a second, like a small slither of a second, that I thought, well, I better consider giving him the last name, because I felt like like you said, men would want that. And so that would give them some emotionally, like if he doesn't have my name, I didn't even get to pick the name, then I'm certainly not emotionally tied. But no, you're the daddy. You are, DNA ties you two together. So I was like, that's just ridiculous. But
and I can understand not wanting. I mean, we do sometimes, we're emotional and we make decisions based on our emotions, but I can understand if a person is just absent. I mean, why would they take on the last name of the dad? I mean, that person. So there's some legitimacy to the point that you made about some women will, make sure that the child has the last name of the father for some type of emotional attachment, or just to
still want to
say,
be connected. I know who my baby's
just
daddy
to say,
is.
right, yeah.
Or child's father, because I don't really like that baby daddy term. But
And that's just kind of something that has been done. I will say, as we're discussing this and I'm weighing it out, that's just something that has been done traditionally. And so now we're in a new age, and I think a lot of thought needs to be put into that when it comes to that. So it's understandable. Somebody, especially, so I would say for my grandchildren, I don't think he's deserving to have
they have his name.
They have his last name, because he's not displayed. He's just not displayed those attributes that I would have liked for him to have to be my grandsons. I think there's potential, but I think he has his own
Obviously,
issues.
when you name a child, though, it's hard to tell. So the child's just born. It's hard to say, okay, well, you haven't earned this right. But I mean, I did say that if it happens that you do become more involved and you earn the right to for them to carry your last name, then I would change it, because you can still do that. But like you said, traditionalism, I just don't think that that's enough for me. Just because everybody did it, I'm just not an everybody does it, so I should do it kind of girl. I question a lot of things. And I would like to have more, a more elaborate reason as to why I would give my children the name of the father who they don't see, or they won't see, or is not around. I think that can weigh on a child too. Like, I'm carrying around this person's name that I don't even know who they are. I haven't met. That's not my son's situation currently. He does know his dad. They've met each other. They've been around each other. They're in the same company. We've all been out places before, but it's just not on a consistent basis. Like, for all Pierre knows, that's just another person that comes and visits.
Yeah, so as we have talked this out and discussed it, traditionalism is just not enough for a reason to give a child the last name of the father. So, yeah. We are in 2022. There are some things that has to change when it comes to traditionalism, but then there are some things that are good and need to stay in place. So.
Granted, if you are married, I totally get why the children would carry the last name, but we're speaking on our situation as single mothers. Why is it that the child has to carry the last name of the father that they don't know? Obviously, for you, like you said, you were married in one of those situations, and now it makes sense. Like you said, all three of us just gonna have a different last name. I didn't even think about that.
No, I didn't want it to be a lot of confusion with school, and I didn't want it to be a lot of confusion, especially with you and Bruce. You got a last name, he got a different, and that's what it is now. But you and I both have the same last name, so I don't think it brought us a lot of confusion. And then, he did know his dad, so that played out. So yeah.
That would be a legitimate reason why, and it makes a lot of sense. But yeah, I would like to continue that conversation moving forward. And I think a lot of these shows that we've done we'll be continuing the conversations moving forward. 30 minutes is not a lot of time to really dive deeply into a conversation. So what you'll find is that on our different platforms, we're going to continue conversations and do more lives in order for us to speak more about said topic. But I think we can close it there. Do you want to add anything else?
No. I think that was good enough information for somebody. If somebody is watching this podcast and they have been deciding what they will name, they're pregnant now and they're actually contemplating on giving their child a last name, or the reason why they wouldn't give the child the last name of the father, hopefully this will give you a little bit of insight. The reason why people have normally done it in the past is because it's been traditionalism, but I think a little bit more thought has to go into that. And like if you're in a long-term relationship and you've been dating for a long time and you're living together, and then I could see why you would name the child after the father. Not being married, but you've been together for quite a long time and your relationship is solid and you're going to see a future with that. I can see that. But if it just happens to be a one-night stand and you get pregnant, that is not a good enough reason for you to try to name the child after the father, because you're trying to keep something over the man's head, or you're trying to keep some type of attachment, or you're trying to prove a point that you are the said father. As Danielle said, DNA can prove that you are the father. Him carrying that man's last name does not have to mean he's the dad. Because listen, there's a lot that goes into being a father, right? You got to be present. And so and then if it was a one-night stand, and he turns out to be a fantastic father, and he's in that kid's life, then you might revisit that and name him and give him that last name. But, just because you had a menage a trois,
No,
one-night stand, that's not a good enough reason for you to name your child after the man you slept with. So give that to consideration, because it will cause confusion in the future for your child.
Or it may. Every situation obviously will be very different. We're just telling you from our perspective what we think works for us. And if that resonates with you, take it and run with it. And seek wise counsel always. Get other opinions. But ultimately, it is your final say. And don't let anyone, although you're getting feedback from other people, don't let anyone infringe upon what you feel is right for you and your household. And that is another episode of the Mother Daughter Duo podcast.
Peace.